Mr. Chuck Blair here. Great to have you joining me this morning. And I'm just giggling, laughing, thinking I gotta stop wearing black shirts with a black background. Little weird online. So my apologies for that. And we're moving on. We're moving on. We're looking at joy here today, and it's again really really fascinating, and I continually get a chuckle out of it. Like how much in these works by Emanuel Swedenborg, who's the theologian who forms a lot of our thought around Christianity in this particular denomination, very similar to the way Martin Luther is for Lutheran, or Fox for Quakers, etc. And anyhow, he keeps coming back to joy, which is fascinating because a lot of religious people, I think, really struggle with joy. I think probably most of us, we think, oh, yeah, they're really religious. The last thing we think is that, wow, they're really filled with joy. And yet, that's kind of what the game's supposed to be. I mean, that should be a big marker of somebody who has faith. Goes back to that old word, enthusiasm, and theo, in God. Enthusiasm was supposed to be a phrase that had this connotation of what happened to our lives when we really started to find God and understand that. So what does that mean? Like, why is it that way? Right? Why should joy be such a great marker? So I thought today, continuing on reading as we have been, I would take a look at this idea, how angels find joy. How angels find joy. So there's obviously this idea that angels find a lot of joy in serving. And we think about, you think about those people in your life, you're like, oh, they're such an angel, right? And we use that as a figure of speech, but also I think we know that that's true, right? That those people who we see in our lives who really do serve, they're really angels. They're angels in our lives. And there's a little bit I don't want to call it more sophisticated. That's not the right word because it sounds like there's a judgy part to it. But there's a way to just kind of tease that out just a little further. And that's what I wanted to do today. And it's based on this line where Emanuel Swedenborg is talking about angels. He said, a group of angels admitted into the innocent state of the first heaven. Now, that means kind of this openness. They just got admitted into a really open place, spoke and confessed that the condition of that heaven was so filled with joy, it was unimaginable. So that's an interesting one. Let's pull that apart just a little bit. That idea that right when we get open that just opens us up to joy. And I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but I think it's worthwhile to go in a little deeper on it. So what does that mean, that openness? Well, that openness is where we take all our judgments, all our sort of our pre-planning, our prejudging, all our decisions, all our sure judgments, and we are full of sure judgments about things. All of those sure judgments, and we sort of slide those aside. And when we can slide those aside, what we open to is joy. And then that joy, this is real important, that joy becomes a singular experience. It becomes something that we can share with other people. We just kind of know it. And that's why I picked the graphic picture for today, because the graphic is a group that went and served at St. Francis Inn last night. That's very joy-filled picture right there. And it's intriguing, right? To think about that. So how does that all come together? Well, it's interesting for me. My experience of going to go and do service things is service. Yeah, it forces you to serve. It forces you to do things for other people. That's why you're there, right? But it also, and this is really interesting, it also creates a form of openness, right? A form of openness. Because at least for me, when I go into those places, oftentimes I have huge amount of judgments that I have to get over. And it starts with I'm too busy, it's going to be hot, and then it goes right into and these people are blah blah, fill in the crazy blanks, whatever that could. And those judgments could be about the people you're serving with. Those judgments could be about the people you're serving. They could be about the group you're serving. Whatever the nonprofit is. All these crazy, crazy, crazy judgments. And I think most of us are pretty good about putting those aside when we serve in community service settings. I think most of us are incredibly good at that, actually. And that's why they work, right? That's why they work so well, because people put aside all that crap. Sorry for saying crap, but all that crap, they put it aside, and so they're open. And innocence is this idea, this openness, and this willing to learn from what's in front of us. And when we do that and we can do it as a group, what flows in is joy. I love that idea, and from a Christian perspective, right? Like all the goodness of God is the default. It's there. It's always there. It doesn't go anywhere. You can't get rid of it. You can't destroy it. What you can do is you can fall asleep to it, and that happens a lot. You can turn away from it, and that happens a lot. But it is the default. We don't have to go into a situation like that and think I'm going to serve so that I can be open and then I will create joy. No, the joy is there. And that old saying, less of me, Lord, more of you. Less of me, more of you. And when we can do that, less of me, more of you, openness, we get open to these incredible feelings of joy that just permeate our whole bodies. And then we get to have this feeling kind of in the round, this feeling of like, oh, this is what we're doing. This is our body. This is our, and I'm talking about a body of those serving here. This is our group. And you can see that in that picture. That experience, folks, I say it all the time, 100% guaranteed. I've had some service experiences that were, maybe marginally better or worse, if you can even judge it that way. But I never done a service thing. I thought, wow, that was a waste of time. It just doesn't happen because I think when we go into that, we go into it together and we go into it open. And we go into it open, joy ensues. And add in, wrap that all in a spirit of service. And boy, you really got something there. So folks, the thought as we go into this weekend for you is really think about being open. What does it mean for you to have a weekend where you really feel open and really can put that stuff aside and don't put it aside thinking, oh, I'm gonna feel joy and then wait for joy to show up. Just put it aside and watch what happens. And dollars to donuts, you will feel an inkling of the kind of joy, and it's a joy that gives us a sense of heaven. So there's your thought for today, folks. Kind of an interesting little Christian New Church perspective, that we hold that I've really hadn't thought of it that way until the past couple of days. But it's kind of an interesting little tool to have. So with that, dear friends, what we're going to do now is we're going to ring a bell. It's called a prayer bell. We listen to that until the end of the ring, just as a way to clear our minds. Then we go into a little meditation, a little prayer, and a little blessing, and then we're going to say hi to folks online. And I'm certainly hoping I did this right, because we're going to be saying hi to folks online, and I'm trying to do it off of my laptop here today. So hopefully that will all work. So with that, friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's see if we can check on our fancy thing here and see if it comes up. I'm trying to to be totally honest, what happened is I forgot my phone, so I'm trying to do it online here. All right, let me just mute that out. All right, let's take a look at. Oh, we got a lot of comments today. All right, let's take a look at these comments today. All right, there we go. All right. Gene writes, the joy of being open to serve brings heaven to earth. Have a great weekend filled with joy. Yeah, you know what, Gene? And that idea of as in heaven, so upon the earth, like that's the point. The kingdom of heaven is not a then and there, but it really is a here and now that God wants us to experience. Paige, every day includes opportunities to serve. Yes, and I love years ago, Paige, I remember somebody saying, if you're wondering where to serve, remember God has put you in the worlds he wants you to serve. And I love that idea, right? We don't need to search for it all over the place. Like it's around, and our job is to live into it as best we can. Let's see here. Kim writes, service is all of the feels. Yeah, Kim, it really is amazing. It is like the glory of God is the person fully alive. And when we serve, and again, folks, it's not all in big ways. We got lots of people who don't want to go down to Kensington and serve, and they may find other ways that are far, in a certain sense, smaller, but deeply meaningful. Every bit is meaningful, and it really does end up being all of those different feels. And Marcus writes as well, writes, good morning, everyone. And I would totally agree with that, Marcus. And I see there's a bunch of other comments, and now I have learned my lesson. I cannot seem to pull them up. So let me try one more time. Come on, Hocus Pocus, give me a little love here on on technology. No, it's only gonna let me see 4 comments. All right. Well, anyhow, folks, I will type out comments to the rest of you as soon as we're done here. So friends, just I'm wishing you all the very best. God bless. Great to have you joining me this morning, and wishing you a wonderful weekend of just openness, service, and joy. That is not a bad combo if you can hit those 3 somehow in any way, big or small, that God calls you to. Openness, service, and joy. Take care, friends. Best of wishes this weekend. Bye-bye.